Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just to give you a history about the Y in general, and unfortunately, see technology is not, there we go. Going to take you a little bit back through history. The Y was founded in 1844 back in London, England. It came to the United States in 1851 on the East Coast in Boston. That YMCA actually is in existence today as a YMCA. It's one of the oldest YMCAs in the country. And basically the Y's history is built off of independence and autonomy from each other. We're kind of a strange structure. Each Y is independent of each other. So there's a saying we have internally amongst staff that if you've seen one Y, you've seen one Y, because every Y is built to fit the community's needs. So you'll see the Ys in Portage and Valpo and Lake County. They're all different because it's literally built to service the community. There's very few that are linked exactly the same. So we get to share a brand. We do have a corporate office, if you want to call it that, downtown Chicago, where we do pay dues to in order to use the Y brand. And there's certain things that criteria we have to follow, like 10 or 11 different things to be considered a brand. But we are not dictated by them. We have to raise our own money. We have to pay our own bills. They're more of guidance and support than anything else. But I will say that Ys are great as far as networking with each other throughout the country. I know for a fact that if I picked up the phone today and called out to a Y at California and identified my situation, they'd be more than happy to help us. So it's a really great organization to be part of. And volunteers, like most nonprofits, is the backbone of the YMCAs. Our boards are volunteers. Many of our events are driven by volunteers. Our basketball program, for instance, is all done by volunteer coaches. So we could not exist like many other nonprofits if it wasn't for the volunteers behind us. Ironically, the founding fathers of the YMCA created the Y in response to unhealthy social conditions arising in big cities. So you got to figure 175 years ago, the issue still exists today, sadly, from London, England to the United States. So our mission stays the same and our need is probably greater than ever. And initially, as it says, Young Men Christians Association, it was a male-only organization up until around World War II. Where, after World War II, they finally started releasing some of the previous requirements. So, for instance, after World War II, 62% of the Ys across the country were allowing women and girls in, finally, and then they did change their emphasis on becoming a family organization and accepting everyone. And we still have that. Most Ys in their mission statement across the country will always have for all, because we accept everyone. We do not discriminate against anyone from any ethnic background, religious background, anything. So it's another great welcoming organization. Currently, there are over 2,000 Ys across the United States. We serve 10,000 communities, and we are one of the leading nonprofits in the country. The Y is also, I didn't put a slide together, is also an international organization. We have YMCAs in Canada, South America. One of my most favorite stories is that there is a Y in Jerusalem. It is considered a high honor to be selected as the executive director of that YMCA because in regard to both warring factions out there, the Y is considered a place of peace and has often been used for meetings and negotiations in times of turmoil. So we literally are across the world, and we are one of the top 10 recognizable logos throughout the world as well. I'm not going to touch on all of these, but I don't know how many of you realize the impact the Y has had on culture. I think the second one is probably the biggest one, is that a Y program director back in 1891 by the name of James Naismith, he created basketball. He is, in fact, today, some of the awards they give out at the NBA level still have his name on that award. So he is credited for creating the game basketball to entertain a group of young men who were just bored and needed something to do that was included physical activity and a little challenge. So it's probably one of the biggest ones that the Y is known for. We also were the first ones not only to create an indoor swimming pool, but we created then the filtration system with it, and then followed up with creating group swim lessons as well. And then there's a couple other ones there that we founded Father's Day. Another internal fact is our Y Retirement Fund was started with a $1 million challenge grant from John D. Rockefeller himself. It exists today and has done well through every financial crisis that the world has encountered. So just a little tidbits I always like to share with others who may not know. It's kind of fun, the impact, to see what they've done. Any questions so far? Here in our LaPorte County family-wide, we opened our doors in 1909. The year after we opened, we ran a $65,000 campaign to construct the Y itself. So, figure that, 1909 to raise $65,000, I have to imagine, I didn't do the math, I got to imagine it's worth a couple million, at least in today's terms. In 1912, here in LaPorte, another $7,000 was raised to build the addition, and a third lane was added to the bowling alley that used to be in the basement, I understand, here at our LaPorte location. Also here in LaPorte location, we had dormitory rooms, which was a very common thing amongst YMCAs across the country, again, to service those who were in need. On a personal note, I always like to share, it's kind of funny how life's journey takes you because my parents, both World War II, my dad was a World War II vet. Right after the war, apartments were very sparse in Chicago, and after they got married, they actually had to live in a YMCA downtown Chicago for about 3 months until some apartments became available. So it's kind of funny how the Y was part of our family all along. So after that, in 1981, the first female board president was elected by the board, and that was Rita Hagenow. Her husband, Dr. Hagenow, still serves on our board today. And then in 1992, our child care center on Monroe Street here in LaPorte opened up. In 2012, our Long Beach branch opened up. In 2013, we completed the fields over on Andrew Avenue. That's where our day camp goes and a lot of our sports activity. And then in 2015, our Michigan City Elston branch opened up as well. So it's been a very growing decade or so for this organization. Lots of excitement. Just wanted to share with you what our logo did look like over the years. You can see that from 1891 through the last one, which we call it the martini glass, there's always a triangle, and that was developed by a doctor of the YMCA. He was also a staff member, Dr. Gulick. He created the theory that getting healthy included spirit, mind, and body, and he created that triangle. And to this day, the YMCA keeps a version of that. And about 10 years ago, we changed the logo to look like it is today. And again, you can see they still kept the triangle in the upper right corner to represent that spirit, mind, and body. But we changed the colors and the look to become more modern. We needed to address, the younger people coming up. We needed to reflect the many colors as far as our diversity in our communities that we serve. And so far, I know personally 10 years ago, I was a little reluctant. But now I look back at that old logo and I was like, boy, what did I see in that logo? I really enjoyed the new colors and the new look. Made us a little more modern. Many were concerned because now we're called the Y, so many were concerned about the C, the Christianity. But again, since we are all autonomous of each other, each Y can definitely take the Christianity value to a different level depending on their community's wants and needs. So I don't think any Ys have really lost any Christian values once that logo changed 10 years ago. And our mission at our Y here in LaPorte County is to put Christian principles into practice, and again, building spirit, mind, and body, and you'll see in there for all. So that is what we really, at all our decision making, our program development, we really look at that as well. Our 3 areas of focus are always for youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. So that's a driving forces behind, again, all our decision making, our strategic planning. Does it fit those three criteria as we talk amongst ourselves and develop our future for all of our communities? And then our core values that all of our staff are used to is caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility. I know personally when I started with the Y, my children were, I think, like 8 and 10, and I'll never forget the first summer camp they went to. I think it was my first week, my little one, when she came back home and she's like, Mom, she could repeat the core values. That was very, very touching for me as a parent, because I thought, you know, it was really impressive that this was not just something that was on, you know, paper, that staff took it very seriously, and we really work at conveying that to all of our children in all of our programs. Our why depends, like most nonprofits, of 4 areas of raising money. There's our annual campaign, which I do have a flyer in here, the next slide. That's every year. We raise about $100,000 between major events and just asking for donations. However, you'll see on the next page, we have given out over $200,000 in our scholarship program, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then we have our capital campaign, and as you'll see throughout the history of our YMCA here in LaPorte, we've run many, many different capital campaigns. And even with this COVID-19, we are preparing to run the next campaign to build a new facility for our LaPorte location, which I'll show you a couple slides toward the end. And of course, we look for our endowment gifts. And then our special event now has become the Tour de LaPorte, which was honored to be given that responsibility. Healthcare Foundation has run there for 17 years. So last year they've asked us to take that on. We felt, the 2 boards felt that it aligned with our vision and our goals. And so for the first time this year, we'll be running the Tour de LaPorte, and all the proceeds will go to our scholarship program. This is our community impact report from 2019. So as I said before, like, we gave out a little over $200,000 in scholarships, where we only raised about $100,000. So that's where that Tour de LaPorte is going to really help us out a lot. And we obviously have to increase our outreach to others for further donations. But we also have a motto that we never turn anyone away for the inability to pay. So you can't afford to come in, and whether it's just to get a membership to work out or to swim, whether your child wants to go to summer camp, our child care center, for whatever reason, you're a senior in need, again, we don't discriminate. We work with you, and we provide you funding as much as possible. And we don't have a cap on that. And as we reopen later this month, we see that need's going to increase tremendously, like every other nonprofit, as there's so many people out there, you know, who are not working currently and really need to get out and just to be social and to get some physical and emotional support from our organization. There's a very touching story in that flyer, too, of a member highlight of a couple who both were diagnosed with cancer within months of each other. They are members out of our Michigan City branch. It's a very touching story. Fortunately for both, they are in a road to recovery, and Mr. Condon is a little bit further ahead than his wife. He's already job searching, but they really do attribute the YMCA membership that they got as keeping their emotional and mental state going while they're going through the Cancer Survivor program, and just the support we provide as staff, and just seeing faces. And, you know, when you don't have any money to pay bills, but yeah, you can still come to Y. They said oftentimes it became almost their date night to come to the Y just to work out and socialize. So it's a very touching story, and just one example of what, you know, we do provide for our communities. As I said, our campaign for the LaPorte facility is quietly underway. Even before COVID hit, we've been doing a lot of background work. We've been doing feasibility studies, community studies, asking members what, and community non-members, what they would like in a new facility. We also were doing site analysis as far as soil testing, soil boring. So that has slowed down a little bit in the past month due to COVID, but we plan, as soon as we can get a little bit of traction back up and running, that we would plan on continuing that work. And we probably lost, you know, maybe 6 months based on our first of the year projections, but we do plan on continuing to do that new facility here in LaPorte. And then, like I said, as our other fundraiser, the big one this year will be our Healthcare Foundation gave us the Tour de LaPorte, which raised for them last year about $60,000. So so it's exciting. It's always the third weekend in August if you guys aren't aware of it. This is just an early draft. I know it's not the best lighting, but that is just an early draft of a future facility potentially for us. This was a drawing that was done for us with that site being over at the Newport Landing site. So it'd be the same size facility as we're in today, or roughly 80,000 square feet. The difference, though, would be a much more efficient building, which much more open spacing, gathering spots, well, better laid out versus the additions that has happened over here over the years. Here's a version of what the first floor could look like, where you'd walk in the main floor there. To your left could be the basketball courts. The back left would be your workout area, your Group X classes would be along the back wall there with the image of possibly full windows looking out across the lake. The pool could be to the right, far right there with the locker rooms in between, and then some offices and meeting rooms right in the front. What this doesn't include is that one of the things we talked about since this rendition was done, we'd like to bring our licensed child care center over to the new facility as well, so we can be all one large facility. That way the parents and the staff could take part in our programming throughout the day and night. The kids, we can bring them over more for some lessons, run some gym programs, things like that. So that is a new change since this rendition has gone up, that we'd like to bring them over, and I think everybody's really exciting. There's lots of efficiencies by bringing the child care center over as well. I think that'd be a huge addition for our YMCA to meld the two together. Any questions on the building or the
Great.
drawings or anything?
Looks great.
I had a question on
yeah, go ahead.
On your attendance in your summer camp programs. I know in the Boy Scouts right now we're having a problem with our summer camp programs because of the restrictions on what we can do. Are you having the same kind of issues coming up with you guys?
We are. Just before this, I was on a call. So our state has 45 YMCAs in the state of Indiana, and we have what we call a state alliance. And we through this whole COVID, we've been meeting virtually, probably weekly. We were just on the call with a state representative for child care. So they were defining for us which child cares could start right away and which ones have to wait till June 15th. So we are, because our camp does not have subsidized funding, we have to wait to June 15th to start it. And then even after that, my camp director just came back to work this week. We're figuring out the ratios are going to have to be so low, 8 to 1. We're trying to map that out because obviously we're going to have more staff, more camp counselors. We're going to have to figure out how to map it out physically, between, what the activities they do, and then we have to figure out field trips. So I'd like to say we're going to run it, but it becomes a cost factor too after a while. Is that I don't know if I can run it at a loss either. So.
Well, yeah, we work on the same issues. We have, due to the restrictions, we're, with the scouts, we can have them at least cooking their campsites, so we don't have to worry about that. But
right.
With that, like you said, it becomes a matter of financial too. If we don't get enough people, and we have to increase staff, then we're going to run at a big loss, and we just can't afford that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we're trying to crunch the numbers right now, and even just seeing how many staff are willing to come back and work in the environment. I think, and I've talked to several entities throughout the county, and I know a lot of employers are having that problem. People are nervous about coming back.
Oh yeah.
For a lot of reasons. So, so even if we can get the staff back, we don't know how many we can even get back. So that's all the stuff we just started working on this week.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Maggie. If you were to bring the child care center over, does that change your total square footage?
We would. We'd probably go up a little bit, not too much more, because we would try to keep the costs in line. We would be able to design it closer, like on the pool side, so that we probably would add maybe 20,000 square feet. But we also see reductions elsewhere in the building that we could take away. So we'd probably keep it the same, but just make its own, but connect it to the Y. Kind of one of the points.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is Tom Keene. Was there any consideration given to pickleball courts in the new Y facility?
Well, right now they'd be in the gymnasium, so I don't think, because it was raised also about racquetball courts. So depending on how a capital campaign went, to actually have them as separate entities, that's not in the plan right now. But if we were able to raise the funds to have either racquetball and/or pickleball, but we could also, what we're doing right now, especially in Michigan City, is we've taped off the racquetball or the pickleball court on the gym floors, and we would do the same thing. Just build it into we'd have 2 gyms there. If you saw that, there was we're allocating for 2 gymnasiums like we have here in LaPorte, so we'd have more time, more availability to run pickleball.
Okay, thank you.
So as far as our reopening, as far as the governor's 5-step plan, we are geared to reopen on Sunday, May 24th. So when we say reopen, it'll be like every other business. We'll be reopening in phases like everybody else. So basically, when we say reopen, the buildings themselves will be reopened, but with a lot of restrictions like everybody else. At the moment, I know the governor has us at 100 or less people in the building. However, we've been talking with the state as well because, like for here, and even Michigan City, our buildings are huge. So we, in theory, could have 50 people, we could have 100 people probably in each section of the building. So we're going to start with those restrictions. All the equipment will be every other piece of equipment. So for instance, treadmills will be unplugged. We're currently taping off every other piece of equipment. So we won't be running any Group X classes in the beginning weeks. It would just be you're coming in to swim and to do some exercises. We'll continue our virtual Group X exercises online, but we're looking at the governor's plan, and we think like by mid-June, we then could maybe start having more equipment available, and also we could probably start Group X classes in a larger setting, meaning like we would take them up to the gym, so we have that 6 feet of social distancing amongst each other. So, but at least we'll be able to get the buildings open on May 24th.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when are we going to see the big plans for the Michigan City YMCA?
Well, the hope is that as far as strategically, would be once we can get the LaPorte up and running, the good news is that obviously we're sinking a lot of capital costs into keeping the current building running just because of age, So the hope is that as we get the new facility going here in LaPorte, we'll be saving a lot more money with efficiencies and expenses, and then we can direct ourselves over to the Michigan City side of the county and start capital campaign over there for future Michigan City Y over there.
Any other questions? Okay. Jessica, you're muted.
I'm just laughing. Jessica is no doubt tied up.
Sorry, I'm distracted. It's hard to work from home, let me tell you. I was just saying thank you, Laurie, for everything today.
Thank you guys. I appreciate the opportunity to share the story about the Y with everybody. So thank you.
You're welcome to stay through the rest of our meeting, but you don't have to if you have things to do. And I also wanted to extend the invitation. If you were interested in joining the Rotary Club, we'd be happy to have you as part of our club. And hopefully one day in the future, we can all meet in person again.
That would be great. Jim and I were talking earlier. He's going, I guess Maggie is scheduled next month to give an update on their community project. So I think Jim was going to send me an invite for that as well. So I'd love to stay connected with everybody.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So I missed any club announcements before the meeting started. I did send an email just in case I couldn't make it. The club did donate 100 gifts to local nursing homes. We did DVDs, crossword puzzles, books, puzzles, games, things for the residents to play while they're in isolation in the nursing homes. And both of the ones that we donated to were super grateful. The club also donated $250 to the Salvation Army, which I can tell you is a huge help. And I know that we've gotten donations from individual Rotarians as well. So thank you, everybody, for all of your support. Are there any other club announcements that we need to make from anybody?
I'd like to say something. I sent you, Jessica, I sent you a letter, and I sent Jim a letter stating my religious affiliation. I am a non-denominational pastor. That means that I am for all. Whoever you are or whatever you believe, that's entirely up to you. I'm there to encourage you and enforce what you do believe. And if you believe in going in the forest and worshiping a tree, if that makes you feel at peace and comfort and gives you some kind of relaxation, I'm all for that. I'll go to the same tree with you. And so I just wanted to let you know that even though I'm with United Church of Christ, I got another 4 or 5 months and I will not be with them any longer. I'm a chaplain for the police department and the fire department, and also I am on PRN with the hospital. So I'm for all of God's people, or I'm for whatever you believe. And when and I worked for hospice, I was a director there. And when any time I went to a person who was at the end of life, my job was not to make them believe what I believe. My job was to enforce what they believe and what they understand and what they've had for many years. And so I just wanted to explain myself better so that you understood that I'm for everybody, and I always will be. And now that I'm retired from St. John's, I'm non-denominational. Just like I said, I'm for everybody, every human being. I love all of you, and I care about you. And if you ever need me for anything, no matter what religion you are, if you have a religion, you don't have a religion, remember one thing: we are all still human beings, and we are all still spiritual. So that's where I'm going to leave it, right there. And since you didn't return my letter, I thought I better get a chance and do it now.
Well, thank you, Jim. We appreciate that. And we always appreciate your prayers for the club, definitely.
Jessica, one of the things that I would like to say is I'd like to thank the Rotary Club for continuing to support its garden in the Friendship Gardens. And when we get a sign that we can meet again, maybe we could meet outside, because everybody would feel safe for the first meeting. And I think it would be great if we had a meeting at the gardens.
I agree. I think that's great. One of the things, thank you for reminding me, that I wanted to mention, at our next Rotary board meeting at the end of the month, we'll be discussing how we move forward. We agreed to cancel April and May, but now with the governor's back on track plan, we need to talk about how we're going to look at June, July moving forward. So if anybody has any suggestions on ways that we can meet as a club, let myself or any other board member know in the next couple of weeks, and we can discuss all of those and get back to the rest of the club. I think that's a good idea.
Maybe we could make that our summer ease-in meetings. Do it even more than once. Just have them catered with sandwiches.
Sure. Yeah. Julie did say that if they do any catering in June and July, they'll have to do box meals. They can't do buffets, which I think would be perfect for a picnic.
I think it would be great.
Okay. Jim, are you today's Sarge?
Yes, I am. I am the Sarge today. What I want to do today, and it's good that we started it, as part of the Sarge program, what I really would like to do is conduct a little business at the club. We talk about having our meeting in another location. I think that's a great idea. What I'm looking for is we've become a lot of a lunch club where we all come just once a week and we meet and we have dinner and we have a good meeting with each other, but we don't do a lot of service projects. And when I got involved with Rotary, that's what I got involved for, with service to others. So what I'd like to do is find out from you guys, and I know hopefully we're going to work with Unity on the community efforts that's been going through to come up with some projects there. But if you ever think of anything else, is there anybody got any ideas of how we can help out the community in different ways we have done than we've done before that would involve more members of the club and would be obviously championed by somebody? Otherwise, there's no sense doing it if you don't get a champion to carry out the project. I know I miss one of the great things we were doing was the Strive program, and because we ran out of the ability to keep a champion of that, it kind of fell by the wayside. But that was a great idea, and I think if we can come up with other ideas like that and get people to lead them, that would be in great shape. So what I'm looking for here is any ideas you guys might have in order to do that.
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
This is Maggie. It might be helpful actually to bring up our list of projects that we've done in the past to kind of check off if those are still happening. Because I think we do have some new board members and we have some not board members, but members. And then we have some people who've been around for a while that if you ask me which programs we're actually doing right now, I wouldn't be able to answer that very well. Just like, okay, we apple dumpling and some of these things. So it might help to have a current inventory of what we're actually doing, because, if they were good before, they might be good now. So just thought I'd throw that out.
Okay, no, it's a good idea. I can do that. I'll just send an group email to the club with just listing all of our different projects that we've currently done, because we really need to look at them. It's one of the things I was going to do with the new board was say, here's all the projects we're doing. How many do we want to continue doing? How many are no longer relevant to what we're doing? And then are there any new ones we can put in to start doing? So you're right. You got to start someplace. And starting with the ones that are current is the right place to be. Jessica, if you want to talk, you got to put your mic on.
I was talking to my kid. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the other idea, Jim, is in the new normal. We've been working to try to reactivate a volunteer hub for LaPorte County, and it's not getting a lot of traction. First of all, because the organizations that normally take volunteers are, a little cautious right now, and then maybe it's just not like geared toward virtual volunteering experiences or some of the newer ways that people can volunteer. So I think that's something to consider as well, not just because, we like the gardens that Susie brought up, that's a cool project, but we're paying, right now we're not doing it ourselves because of lack of manpower and interest or whatever, but yet, that's an important project to keep up because it's got our name on it, So
we should be using it.
Yes.
In some way, we should be doing something with it.
I think the idea of even if we, I know we do our summer lunches at Barker Mansion, maybe we could shift that to Friendship Gardens. That way, even though we're paying somebody to maintain it because we don't have the manpower, at least having a picnic there a couple times a year, or at least we're using what we're paying for. Then I agree with that.
Yeah, but I would just say let's be, and we used to have a spreadsheet of all our projects, so I'm sure that's still around somewhere. So anyway, but I'm thinking of also, let's think outside the box, think of how we can engage people virtually, especially if they're, older members who can't get out, that kind of stuff. So.
Good idea.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other ideas? I think this is very helpful, by the way, and the more I'm going to lean on the membership more to help me drive the club. Okay, so the more we talk about this, the more goals and stuff I can set forward to help get things moving in the future. So I really appreciate any help you can give me. You know how to reach me by email. That's no problem. You can actually reach me 2 different ways now, 3 different ways. You can send it to jwellborn at wellborn.com or secretary@mcrotary.org or president-elect@mcrotary.org. You know,
Or you can pick up the phone.
or you can call me on the phone. That's right. That's old fashioned though. Come on, Susie. Okay. Anything else? If not, let's go on to the Queen of Hearts. What I can do here is my little share thing. Okay, I'm going to share. Where'd it go? Give me a second, I'll get there. Yeah. All right, based on PayPal, we've got the following people here bought tickets. Some of them more than one, some of them just one. So what we do to figure out who draws the ticket is we just click this little button here, and whoever comes to the top is the one who wins the ticket. So there we go. It's Tom Keene. Tom Keene, you won the ticket this time.
So I get to pick a queen?
Yeah, you get to pick the queen, but it's kind of hard to do. So
You're going to do it for me, right?
We'll go to a little thing here we call the playing card shuffler. Okay. And draw a card. Just tell me when to press the button, Tom. That's how you get to draw it.
Okay. Okay, press the button.
I did. There it goes. Oh, you got an ace of spades.
Whoop.
Isn't that worth something?
By the way, the value of the queen was $393.24 at this point.
Oh.
Okay.
A lot of money.
Yeah. Now there's a caveat right now. Doing it this way online, we cannot take a card out. So there'll always be 52 to choose from. So your odds are never going to get any better. That's the only problem with it, okay?
Want my money back.
I would like to say another thing too. If you do want to spread, like, a lot of people gave $20 and get $5 for each category, 5 for the queen, 5 for the charge, 5 for the tigers, and 5 for the
Pig.
Anyway, there's 4 categories. If you want to give the same amount to all 4, just put that in the first one. Don't pick them one at a time. The difference between that is if you say I would take $20 and spread it across all 4, then we get charged, I think it's 82 cents by PayPal. If you do it one at a time, we get charged $3.80 by PayPal.
Ooh.
So, if you're going to do all of them, just click them in there and just don't pick one. Just put your total in and say, yes, that's what I want to donate to. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Are there any other questions before we end up here? Jessica, can I have that blanket? It's getting cold in here.
Well, I put a question in chat.
Did you say you had a question?
Yeah, how easy it is to buy a ticket. I just haven't investigated it yet.
Oh, it's real easy. Very easy. You go on to donate on the website, you click donate, and then you click meetings, and you put your money in. It's very easy.
Jim, I did that right before the meeting, but it was after 11:45. Does that mean I'll be in the next one? I didn't see my name on the list.
Yeah, you'll be in the next one.
Okay, sounds good.
I was in home, Mommy.
You were?
You click on donations, like you said, and then meeting donations right here. You just click on donate. If you want to spread them evenly across all 4 categories, okay. Come on, PayPal, get me in there. Then what you do is you just put the total here on $20. If you're looking at D1, there's Queen, there's a Sarge, there's take. You're going to do just 1 or 2 of them and choose them. You want to spread one across all 4. You just put the total in here, like you put in $20 here. And just click next, and you'll go ahead and donate at that point.
Oh, good.
Looks easy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'm going to start putting little, they already started one, on our website. We're going to have a little thing here called website tutorials. You see that? What will happen is occasionally I'll come in there and show you how to do particular things on the website. For instance, Rotary Meeting donations that's out there. If you want to see how to do it, you can just go to the website tutorial, click on that, and find out how you can do your meeting donations. So I'm going to add a couple more in there. Check it. The website tutorial. Put it in the newsletter when I add a new tutorial in, so if you come to the newsletter.
Jim, I think the sound is getting bad. I'm not sure if somebody hasn't muted their microphone and is overwhelming your sound.
Oh.
But everybody may want to mute their microphone.
Okay, that sounds better. Is there any other questions for anybody to ask? If not, meeting is adjourned. Jessica, you should be safe.
Thanks, Jim.
We're about a
Hey,
month away
everybody.
anyways. You go ahead. So I think our next meeting it's 2 weeks from today, and it'll be Maggie from Unity Foundation, correct? Maggie will be giving us an update from Unity Foundation. Sounds good. We'll see you all then, and don't forget to buy your Queen or your Sarge or whatever between now and then. If you have any suggestions suggestions for meetings in June and July, let us know. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Be
Bye-bye.
blessed,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.